Thank you, Chairman Hudson and Ranking Member Matsui, for convening today's hearing. As many of you know, I began my legal career a little over a year after the Telecommunications Act of 1996 passed. That is how I started as a lawyer. I ended as a lawyer right before coming here 2 years ago, figuring out how to implement the BEAD program and to expand broadband. I have witnessed had a front row seat at the table, witnessing the transition of the telecom industry from a regulated monopoly, where mainly landline was the form of communication, to now a Wi-Fi-based, wireless-based, data-based industry. And I have seen firsthand the explosion in the use of and the demand for more bandwidth, for more and more data growing at an explosive rate. So I am very excited that my first hearing as a member of this committee has brought me back home dealing with issues that I have dealt with since I was a baby lawyer. And with that, I would like to first focus on the discussion we've had about spectrum being a finite natural resource that does found the foundation for technical innovation in our dramatically increasing digital world. Its allocation and utilization carry significant potential to either bridge or widen the digital divide, particularly for our rural, underrepresented, and marginalized communities. And so for Mr. Powell and Mr. Lewis, could you elaborate on the benefits of unlicensed spectrum, including how it has historically driven innovation and expanded connectivity, especially in underserved rural and tribal communities?
Thanks. I'm happy to go first. I'd say a couple things real quickly. First of all, it's important to understand how much value Wi-Fi brought to the typical American family over the way the internet first unfolded. When I was first at the FCC, you paid $60, you got a single connection, and you got one computer to operate on that connection. Today, that price is about the same, and every single person in the house can use it. So you've dramatically increased the value and the affordability of the service for all communities. Secondly, the thing that we're learning is Wi-Fi is very effective as a public resource. Anybody can get on it in the airport, in the public park, in the library, in the famed McDonald's parking lots where students have studied at times. During the pandemic, we wouldn't have survived without Wi-Fi being able to allow us to operate at home. The other thing is, as we move to shared models, we're learning that people can take matters into their own hands. I have a great respect for the wireless industry. They're great, but they have challenges in building out infrastructure. But with CBRS, we empowered local communities to set up their own wireless networks. We have small utilities who are able to use CBRS and provide services to their communities. We have small wireless internet service providers who use these bands that they're able to get at low cost to provide services to rural communities. So one thing to remember in the models that we're championing is that you allow anybody to take delivering wireless service into their own hands and use it privately in manufacturing facilities, in stadiums, in football fields. The NFL is going to use it for all of their 24 stadiums. So it's a democratizing approach, and I think we see a lot of benefits that come from that.
Just to add on, it is democratizing in how it impacts folks who then get to innovate on unlicensed spectrum. We talked earlier about the important research that can be done to build new devices, and we want to see that happen everywhere, whether it's on HBCU campuses or in high schools around the country. It's benefiting in both rural and urban areas. You see Wi-Fi create local networks in urban areas like Harlem and the most remote rural areas. Tribal communities are building on multiple bands. There's in California the Enter tribe serving the Yurok and Karuk and Hopa tribes, I might have mispronounced it, where they built their own networks using the shared CBRS structure, but on the unlicensed level.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. In my last 10 seconds, I'd just like to ask for Mr. Powell and Mr. Gillen if you could share in written response back what steps Congress can take to ensure that vital programs like the now expired Affordable Connectivity Program can foster greater competition in the wireless market and to drive down prices while also ensuring providers have the resources necessary to deploy and maintain the networks that are necessary to provide those services. And with that, I yield back.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentlewoman yields back. The chair now recognizes the representative from Georgia, Mr. Carter, for 5 minutes to ask